Hey guys, it's Morris Jackson. Hey, happy Saturday to you. Look, I just wanted to drop in and talk about a trending topic that everyone's discussing right now, and I've got a lot of people ask me about it and ask my thoughts on it. So let me just explain something to you as far as my thoughts are concerned on this topic. So in this, we're talking about the young man named Karmelo Anthony who he admittedly stabbed another teenager, and unfortunately that other teenager is passed away now. So we don't want to make light of the situation, but I do want to just put some facts to this as far as the law is concerned. And I know what the court of public opinion says, but let's just kind of put some facts on this. Now, in the state of Texas, when you talk about the Texas Penal Code, so for those of you who know me, I used to be a law enforcement officer. I'm not an attorney, but I used to be a law enforcement officer. So I'm going to put my law enforcement officer hat back on. In the state of Texas, Texas Penal Code 9.31, where it talks about self-defense and the defense of others, there are a couple of things that must be present. First off, the person must believe that the force used is necessary to defend themselves. They must be lawfully in that place when the force to defend themselves is used, and it must be imminent, meaning that there's nothing between me and you but air. Okay, it's going to happen. If I don't use this force right now, I'm going to be a goner. So I'm just encapsulating that into layman's terms. So as far as what we know right now, as far as the case is concerned, he was legally where he was at the time the crime was committed. He was a part of the track meet, I'm assuming. So it wasn't like he was there illegally. So check, we meet that. From what we understand, the other guy grabbed Karmelo, and forgive me for not knowing the other gentleman's name, but he grabbed Karmelo. And right before that, witnesses said that Karmelo told him, "Hey, touch me and see what happens." Now some people say, well, he had no right to do that. He planned it out. Well, look, man, I'm just telling you, in the state of Texas, that has no bearing on the law whatsoever. So throw that out of the window. The guy grabs him, jerks him up, touches him, pushes him, or whatever the case is, and allegedly he grabbed the knife out of a bag and stabs the guy in the chest and takes off running. He was subsequently apprehended, arrested, and charged with murder. Bail set at $1 million. Now look, you could be arrested. They can find probable cause for the arrest. The officer probably arrested him and maybe said that, hey, the force used was, he used too much force, or it was excessive. Now, just because you've been charged and arrested doesn't mean that you're going to be convicted. You still has due process. So he was lawfully there. He used force to defend himself. Okay, check. He felt like he needed to do that. The thing that you have to also consider, and here's where I think that the prosecution is going to have a hard time if they find a good attorney, is you're talking about the person's mens rea, or their mentality. They used the force they believe was necessary to defend themselves. So how do you get inside of a person's mind or predict what that person was thinking? Okay. Even in the officer's affidavit, I can almost guarantee you he's going to say that the guy probably had a right to defend himself, but he used excessive force. So you've already opened the door that he had the right to defend himself. I haven't seen the affidavit, but I'm pretty sure I've read enough of them that's probably what it's going to say, that he used excessive force. He didn't have to use deadly force is what they're going to say, but you've already opened the door. So a good defense attorney, I know some of you are going to want to hear this, will probably be able to beat this case. Look, you have cases like Kyle Rittenhouse. This guy brings a AR-15 to a protest. He's being attacked. In this case, he says he's being attacked and it was two people. Hey, stand your ground. Which, stand your ground, we also have that here in Texas. You do not have a duty to retreat. So, just like going back to the young man, people are saying, well, he could have left. He doesn't have the right, the duty to retreat in the state of Texas or Florida or in a lot of other states that have stand your ground laws. So if it applies to Kyle Rittenhouse, that applies to this young man. There's a lot of different factors there. When you say the force was excessive, well, that's very subjective. How do we know what's going on in this man's mind? They said this kid was a linebacker. What was the size of Karmelo? Maybe when he looked, he just saw this big, huge guy attacking him. And in his mind, he needed to use deadly force in order to defend himself. You see where I'm going with this? So if this young man gets a good attorney, which I believe he will, there's enough media around this, he could very well beat these charges. Now, I could be wrong, but guys, that's how the laws work in the state of Texas. Look it up yourself. Texas Penal Code 9.31, self-defense or defense of others. The person has to believe that the force was necessary to defend themselves. It was imminent, okay? And they were lawfully in the place where they were when the incident happened. So basically, you can't be a burglar breaking into someone's house and someone shoots you and you claim, self-defense. You shoot back at them and shoot them and kill the homeowner and claim self-defense. You can't do that. But none of that applied in this case. So I'm telling you guys, this is far from over. I know he's in jail. He's got a $1 million bond set, but that means nothing. If this guy gets a really good attorney, he will probably beat this case. But anyway, just wanted to weigh in on it, give you my thoughts and opinions. And like I said, I'm not an attorney, but I was a law enforcement officer. And I did also live in Collin County. I know Collin County well. I know the school district very well. They have a history in Collin County, and I'll just say that. I've lived in Frisco and McKinney, so I know those areas very well. I know cops that also work there for those departments. So anyway, take it for what it's worth. Y'all be blessed. Hey, keep your kids safe. Keep your hands off of people. Stop touching folks. It's not worth it. Now, this young man, his family's lost him. Keep your hands off of people. All right. Y'all take care. Be blessed, man. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. All right. Bye.